This is Deborah Atkinson, and you're listening to Flipping 50, where I address your top questions and things you struggle with most so that you can have more energy and less decision fatigue about what to eat, how to move, and so you can change your thoughts to flip 50 with the life and the energy you love in this second half. What if you could move more freely without pain? What if you could dissolve discomfort from movements you love or do seasonally easily? And what if you could do it without a prescription or even over-the-counter pills? As many of you know, if you're listening, though I don't like to make the show or the blogs all about me, today it's a little about me. I'm blogging about endurance activity for the purpose of letting you know what happens to my hormones pre and post, and showing you how to decrease volume and increase intensity to continue enjoying endurance activities for those of us who love them without trashing our hormones. But with that in mind, I still, in preparation for an event, have to ride a bike for a few hours at a time. A definite downshift from 6 or 7 hours, but 3 hours riding in aerobars. And if you know what that means, it's really leaning over pretty far with your forearms on the handlebars. Can cause a lot of tension in the already tight upper back and neck area. And ladies, you know what I mean. We carry the weight of the world up there. And I've been experimenting with a new product that I'm loving and sharing with my triathlon and endurance loving friends as well. And I want to share it with you. My guest today is here to share more with me and with you about the very cream that I'm using. Dr. TK Huynh is with me to talk about Mind Body Matrix Pain Relief Cream. And I'm going to call him TK because he's a good friend of mine and I really can't pronounce his name. Let's be truthful. TK, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me on the show, Deborah.
Yeah, I'm so excited about this, and I've worked with adults from all the way up to 96 actually. And I have one who I remember so well. She was in a lot of pain and she had it calculated. She needed squats, right? But she wanted to be able to squat 6 times because she had it figured out, pushing out of a chair to go to breakfast, lunch, and dinner and go to the bathroom 2 other times was all she needed. She was like, I don't want to do it any more than that because my knees hurt. But she was in quite a bit of pain. And yeah, so there's that side. And then there's those of us who we've had a lot of fun, and we still want to be really active and we want to do it pain-free. And I like to keep my hand up in that group for as long as possible, but love what you're doing. And I love how you're making that possible. And I want to tell a little story about you before we dive into the cream and why you're doing this. So that you listeners know who I have here on the show. So a little background on TK. He grew up in Fresno, California, working really hard, probably harder than most of us, as young kids worked alongside of his parents. He went to pharmacy school eventually. And yet, we could say that TK is not living the typical pharmaceutical prescription drug-based way most pharmacists live. He's got quite a story and met his wife too, if I'm not incorrect in pharmacy school. And so he's really kind of a family-based, high value, high quality business. And I've heard him address, his kids and his family life. And I absolutely love what he's doing so that he's there and really in it right now. But he's such a guy. There's a story about getting in trouble for helping a disabled man when he was really young. And it's such a great illustration of doing the right thing. And I have to, bring this back to, TK, you're not living the path of least resistance, right? I mean, you're not actually doling out prescription meds in a pharmacy, which would be the logical path for a pharmacist, would it not?
Correct. The conventional path is to dispense what is written by the doctor. And we have gone opposite of that. We try to help the doctor and the patient in cooperation to get them to reduce the amount of opiate that has to be written, prescribed, or dispensed.
So how is it that you stumbled into creating the pain cream?
Well, I own an independent pharmacy that does compounding. Like, for example, we do bioidentical hormone compounding for a lot of our patients. And we also compound pain cream to reduce the amount of opiate that is being prescribed in terms of oral pill. And we would get pretty effective with the pain cream. But I still didn't see the healing or the amount of efficacy without the side effect that we should be expecting. And it led me down to this whole path of studying functional medicine with the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine and the Institute of Functional Medicine, and applying functional medicine, lifestyle changes. I see better result. But still, there were a few of those patients who did not get the amount of healing that I wanted to see. There were some patients who have chronic unresolved pain, and they didn't get the relief from the prescription opiates or any of the over-the-counter products. So I went and studied energy medicine. Is where I found the connection between the mind, the body, the spiritual component of healing. And we apply this energy connection into this cream through bioimprinting. Is kind of when we saw result that we wanted to see, because we were working on the emotional energy component for people.
And I'm sure that was big. There's a big emotional component when it comes to pain.
Correct. And the psycho-emotional component is something that's not addressed with opiate medication. All it does is just cause people to be very drowsy and create dependency issue, and they're not dealing with their current problem in their conscious mind. And what we found is that a lot of pain that are unresolved has to do with PTSD issues or childhood trauma. At one point that happened, and it was so traumatic that it get what we call imprinted into the subconscious mind. And this lead to issues that has to do with addiction and mind-body pain syndrome. And when we found that there's this energy connection that we can manipulate through the cream, this is kind of when we saw the process and develop this cream to help people to move forward from their liberation of this energy blockage.
Wow, very cool. Okay, so let me summarize this in a way that I can understand it.
Yes, sorry.
Maybe this will help listeners too. But if I understand correctly, that really what you said there between the lines is the typical opiates, the prescription meds that we may be taking for pain or pain relief actually relieve the symptoms, but not really the root cause, which probably is more emotional.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's do this. And, I know personally my own answer for this, but why is the Mind Body Matrix pain relief cream a better alternative to even Tylenol, Motrin, Advil, or prescription as well, but even, over the counter or what I've got in my kitchen cabinet? Why is this a better alternative?
Yes. Well, we want to first address why we shouldn't be pushing Tylenol, ibuprofen, or any of the NSAIDs or opiate in our aging population. Especially Tylenol, there's a lot of risks that's related to liver failure or liver dysfunction. And then the NSAIDs, they're the anti-inflammatory drugs. There's a lot of correlation of risk to gastric ulcer issues and bleeding and stuff like that in our aging population. In terms of the opiates, we know that there's a lot of drowsiness and sleep factor that can lead to a lot of fall and car accidents, issues, and stuff like that. But there are over-the-counter creams that are menthol, capsaicins, and all that stuff. And they work well, but they only work temporarily in terms of distracting people from the pain. So in order for us to be able to apply with the FDA as an over-the-counter product, we had to put menthol into our cream to get the approval. But what we did was we wanted to make an all-natural cream where it's paraben-free. It's just using herbs and essential oils and natural ingredients. So we put in GABAs and L-theanines as substance to help calm the system down. And then we put the herbs to calm the parasympathetic tone down so people felt very relaxed when they apply the cream on. But on top, what makes our cream very special is that we have these light chamber that we can open up the structures of the water in these cream and imprint bioinformation that matches up to liberation of the emotional component that get trapped during trauma. And then we want to realign the mind, the heart, and the gut. So that way, whoever's putting on the cream can find peace. And what we believe is that when they find peace, then that emotional intensity dramatically drop. And when we have this drop in intensity, the pain intensity dramatically drops.
Love that. Okay. So when you're talking about menthol, are you talking about like the ingredients similar to like icy hot or BioFreeze, something like that?
Yes, it's pretty much that. And they have different varying degree of menthol. So we try to use the least amount of menthol so that way we can go through the proper regulation channels and making sure that the cream is safe for everybody to use.
Got it. And you also mentioned, so the use of herbs, the use of essential oils, and the use of GABA. And I know what you mean, but do you want to describe that for listeners? Why is that important and what is GABA?
Yeah, so GABA is an amino acid that help calm the parasympathetic system down. And then we also added L-theanine, which is a green tea amino acid discovered in Japan without the caffeine. And that put the brain at a more brain waves that are more relaxed. And when that happens, people is in a state of meditative state that calms their mind, calm their heart down, and then hopefully they can find that peace.
Yeah, love that. Love that. And just for listeners, just tying this in, a few episodes ago, we've talked a little bit about GABA, and I've talked about it in some blogs that it's often prescribed or recommended for anxiety. So it kind of ties right back into, that calming, soothing kind of presence, and love, of course, that it's all natural. So another reason that I know a lot of listeners, in addition to, of course, avoiding the ulcers, avoiding the toxins, the liver damage that might happen from taking those over-the-counter drugs. Another pill, if you are a woman going through midlife change and you're now trying to comply with the recommendations for taking your your omega-3s and making sure you're getting in your magnesium and your vitamin D and your multivitamin. And if you're doing bioidenticals, you already have, a few pill boxes at your house. So
yes,
putting the cream on is much more appealing.
yes.
Yeah, love that. So what's next? I mean, this is really exciting. I mean, this is great stuff. So I have to tell you, pain cream, yes, but I mean, here's how I used it. I actually, of course, I had my direct connection to TK before a bike ride on Saturday. And I said, hey, can I use this before I ride? Because it would be so great if I could not have the pain and just prevent it. And he's like, yeah, it should work. So I put it on my neck, my upper back and shoulders, and did my ride for about 5 hours because I can't escape that. And I actually felt really good. There's a little tension there just from not having done it. You can't avoid that altogether, but certainly didn't have the residual pain that I often do, from 3 or 4 days on, affecting what else that I did. So using it that way, TK, are you recommending people put it on before or wait till after, or any specifics that you're using as protocols?
Well, if someone's having a sport event specifically like what you did, it's great because of some of the frequency we put in there has to do with showman, that has to do with grounding and inflammation. So that hopefully reduces your risk of getting into an inflammatory state in your physiology in your body, right? Mm-hmm. And then we also have frequency that has to do with rejuvenating the whole body energy system. And so that's why when you apply the cream, you don't feel just as sore or as tired. So that's another benefit. But usually if people who have chronic persistent pain, I would have them try to apply about 2 to 4 times a day into the area of pain. And sometimes putting it over on the back of the neck helps. And then on top of the chest helps a lot because that's where the heart is. And then in terms of energy medicine, we believe that the heart is a big magnetic field that receive information and transmit information. And when we apply the cream that has the bioinformation in it, then the heart picks it up and then send it to the rest of the body, and the heart can find that peace.
Wow, so intriguing. And I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to ask about, of course, the place of pain or where I wanted to prevent it is the neck. So I was putting it on there anyway. And then I realized that potentially I should also be putting it on the heart. So all three, I understand the heart. What's the connection with the back of the neck?
So a lot of the energy that goes through all the meridian channel runs up to the back of the neck to the brain to interpret as the emotional intensity of the pain. And so if we can intercept that and say, hey, there's peace, then the body will say, hey, there's peace and I shouldn't react that way. I'm not in a fight and flight mode.
Awesome. Okay, so we are, we've talked about the aging population, the older adults. Okay, well, we're all aging, better than the alternative. But yes, obviously for the next 25 years, I mean, there's going to be a big growth, a big continued aging population. That's really what we're doing right now. What do you see for the future for, mind-body matrix pain relief? I mean, what are your missions as a company for the next 25 years?
For the next 25 years, my wife and I really has dedicated our life to this cream, bioenergetic cream company. And what we want to do is to create a change in how we view conventional medicine in terms of opiate as the first line of therapy. And we want to say, hey, there are better alternatives out there, and we should try this first. Unless it fails, then we can go to something strong like an opiate medication. But in terms of launching this pain cream, what we want to do is how do we make an impact on current dispensing or prescribing of these opiates, especially in our veterans. So what we're doing is we're starting out small. We're working with the local VA. And when people buy the full-size bottle of 120 mLs, we are going to donate one to the VA. So that way the doctor can say, hey, this month, instead of giving you 120 Norcos of opiate pain medication, we can try to give you 90 and you can use this cream along with it and see how you do. Report to us next month. If it worked great, then we already got a 25% reduction in the opiate dispensing. And so that's what we want to do, is help these veterans. And that's kind of why it tied back to my childhood story of the veteran who fell off his wheelchair when I was living in the housing project. And I was about 10, 11 years old at that time. And it was dark, foggy in East Fresno. And generally at certain time, we don't go outside and we're not allowed to go outside. But I watched him through the window and saw him struggle to get up to his wheelchair. And I came out to help. And when I came back into the house, I got a good whipping for it. And at that point in time, I promised myself that no matter what happened to people, no matter what it costs, I'm going to try to help people. And it turned out that this person that I helped was a veteran, and going through pharmacy school, I went through the VA system too. And so there's a big tie-in for me with the veteran population.
I love that. Love that message. And so I want to make sure that all the listeners totally understand what you're doing. So, I mean, opiate addiction, is huge, among, our entire population, but certainly among veterans potentially. So for every 120 milliliter, the full size bottle purchased, you're giving one away to vets. So listeners, this is just a personal challenge from me to you. I'm in, so I'm going to buy one. So hoping you'll do the same. I will share it with you, share the image on the Flipping 50 Facebook page just to remind you. And think we all probably know a veteran who, makes us a little bit more motivated to want to help as well. So I love that you're doing that. Thanks so much for sharing that project. Yes. And okay, so here we come to the last and the hardest question. TK, is there a question that you wish I would have asked, or something you wish we would have gone into a little bit more in depth?
I think you asked me everything. It's what I want the viewer to see is join us in our mission and go to our Facebook page at Mind Body Matrix and like us and share our page with your friends and family. So that way we can spread the word, and as many veterans as we can help. I think within the next 5 years, we'll make a huge impact to this population.
Fantastic. Great. Thanks. And for all of you listeners who I know are walking or lifting weights, maybe commuting, I have the links to follow up with TK at mindbodymatrix.com. All of the Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, very easy. It's at mindbodymatrix. Not a lot to remember here. And then I also have the link so that you can pre-order the pain cream and get your own sample. So if you have a question, listeners, that we did not answer, leave it below the show link at flipping50.com and join us on the Flipping 50 TV Facebook page to get all the juicy resources, the links that I mentioned. Visit today's show notes at flipping50.com/podcast. And if you enjoyed the show, please leave us a rating in iTunes. It really matters. And then share this with a friend to surround yourself with a supportive community of women on the same journey and potentially to ease somebody else's pain. What are you waiting for? Start Flipping 50 today.